Hello, hello. Welcome to today's live level up conversation. Whether you're tuning in live or catching me on the replay, I appreciate you either way. So happy Thursday to those of you who are joining me real time, and happy replay though today to those of you joining me later on. Let's dive into today's live level up conversation.
Welcome to Level Up with Winnie Sun. Market update. Speed round. Award-winning financial pro. And now, get ready. I present to you Level Up with Winnie Sun.
Hi, friends. I'm Winnie Sun, your host, award-winning financial pro, a Forbes contributor, and a CNBC council member. We're here to keep you informed on all things business, especially latest and relevant business news. We also want to invite you as part of today's conversation. What's nice about going live, as you know, is that we are absolutely totally live. So if you come in and say hello, just like Joshua, CrossX Fighter is on YouTube Live, we will see the comments. And I get really excited to see your comments because I love to see how you're feeling and your comments, and if we're doing a good job, or if you just have questions in general on what we're talking about, I'd love to hear from you. Now, first things first, let's talk about how the market closed today. I think you're going to like this. It's actually a triple positive days. We really need days like this because we've been having a lot of triple down days and a lot of negative numbers on the close of the stock market. But today, the Dow closed up 73 points, the Nasdaq up 117 points, and the S&P 500 also up 11 points. Now, one thing that I thought I would start with today too, if you've seen the news, especially if you're in California, you've seen it even more so. But if you're not in California, it's still really relevant because you may have heard the Los Angeles Unified School District workers. I guess they're ending, thank goodness, today a 3-day strike after not much progress has been made in terms of the talks. But it's important to know because this is an area where we need to talk about, are people getting paid enough to be able to sustain a good quality of life, right? The SEIU Local 99 is concluding their walkout today. They're going to be returned to work tomorrow. Negotiations are going to continue, of course, because obviously they haven't come to a firm agreement. But the strike has left many parents scrambling to find care and meals for their kids while schools are closed. Thousands of school workers are picketing, and even teachers from across the district. In fact, the SEIU is demanding a total increase of a 30% raise over a multi-year contract. This in comparison to the district's latest offer of 23%. Now, as you know, the average workers at SEIU make about $25,000 a year. Now, they do work an average of 5.5 hours a day. In fact, the teachers union, United Teachers Los Angeles, is also in active contract talks with the district, and they also decided to honor the picket lines and also support the other LAUSD employees. Now, the LAUSD superintendent has been calling for the union to return to the bargaining table, and they're saying that, we're getting to a 23% increase in salary. Let's see what we can do. They also are offering a 3% cash in hand bonus. But the strike has continued until today. And it's really brought to light, not only here in California, but in other parts of the nation, just the struggle of low wage workers and how they can keep up with the high cost of living and all across the United States, but especially here in Los Angeles, where the strike is taking place. In fact, the Los Angeles Unified School District Support Workers Union's Service Employees International Union Local 99 is currently on strike for not only better wages, but also better work conditions, and has caused really a lot of headache and troubles. I mean, you tie that on top of the crazy, nutty weather that we've been receiving here in Southern California. And, Los Angeles County, this is the second largest school district, has now been closed for 3 days. Talk about the learning loss for those students as well. So it's a big deal. But, there's a lot of talk about this, and I'm just curious to see, for those of you and other parts of the nation, are you hearing rumblings as well? Do you feel like this is a quality of life issue? Do you feel like teachers should be paid more, and not just teachers, but bus drivers, custodians, and everybody else? I certainly think it's necessary, especially with the rising cost of inflation, of groceries, quality of life, housing, medication, everything. Everything's going up. So I think it's time that somehow they find a way to pay these employees more money. Speaking of which, I know. Don't forget to like the stream. Yeah, don't forget to like it. I'm seeing Nightbot, by the way. I want to say hello. Nightbot is sharing on YouTube Live. Thank you so much for joining us as well. Talking about striking and talking about unions, we can't segue completely to our next story without talking about Starbucks. Now, Starbucks, you may know, has a brand new CEO. Okay. Starbucks' CEO, let's just say, I think Laxman is his name, Laxman is dealing with quite a bit at Starbucks because they are also dealing with labor practice issues, succession planning, upcoming meetings, and I guess over 200 Starbucks cafes have baristas who are voting to unionize, which is prompting a call for an independent investigation. And it's not just the former CEO, Howard Schultz, that's getting involved, but in fact, pro-union Senator Bernie Sanders is from Congress is also having a very active role here. So for those of you who visit Starbucks, how do you feel about this? Do you feel also that your barista who makes your amazing drink in the morning, perhaps, or in the evenings, or whenever you visit Starbucks, do you feel that they also need to consider unionizing as well for better work conditions and, of course, better pay? Because it seems like this is sort of a trend. This is now two very large groups, two very vocal groups, and it's hitting financial news. So I'm curious to see your thoughts about this. Are you pro-union? Are you not pro-union? Do you feel that there's pros and cons for each? What are your thoughts? Be really interested to hear your feeling about LAUSD and, of course, Starbucks. Will it be okay? And if they do this, if it increases the price that you pay for your coffee or drink, do you think that this makes sense to you? I don't have an answer for this. I'm curious to see how you think about this, of course, and whether that, what you think about that. Now, talking about things going higher, this is another article that I wanted to share with you because this one I almost was like, are you serious? But for those of you who last few years have gotten a Moderna vaccine because of the COVID pandemic, well, this might give you some sticker shock because it definitely gave me some sticker shock. I did get the Moderna vaccine previously, but here's the thing. Moderna CEO Stefan Bancel has now just announced that they're going to increase the cost of its COVID-19 vaccine by 400%. Talk about inflation, to $130. $130 vaccine. That is bananas. But yeah, so they're talking about increasing it by 400% now that it's being sold on the private market, despite the fact that the U.S. government was being charged $26 per dose. So this week there was a Senate hearing about this, and of course the CEO of Moderna is facing a lot of tough questions from lawmakers about whether or not this makes sense. But here's what I think you might find interesting again. Once again, Senator Bernie Sanders has come. He chairs the Senate Health Committee, saying this is absolutely not okay and really is pressing Moderna to agree not to increase the vaccine's price by that much. But of course, CEO of Moderna is saying we just can't do that. He said, he definitely is committed. He says he can't commit to keeping the cost low, saying that the COVID-19 vaccine market has changed substantially. And since the U.S. government stops buying and distributing shots for the entire country, it's going to cost a lot more. So Moderna is expecting that the demand for the vaccine to fall by, get this, 90%, which leaves the company on the hook for any wasted doses of the COVID vaccine that isn't being used. This is what the CEO is saying. And they're saying that during the pandemic, the federal government picked up a lot of these costs. But he said to Congress's committee that to protect people, that the company needs to make sure that it has what is necessary when it's needed. And so these are additional costs that Moderna is going to have to pay. So Bernie Sanders is saying that this is not enough. This is too crazy. It's just too high, talking about profiteering and excessive CEO compensation on the side of Moderna during his opening remarks. And the senator is just saying that, things need to change and better things need to happen. And so basically the Moderna CEO, Benzel, is just defending his compensation, saying that his compensation is tied to the performance of the company's stock, which we know is driven by the success of the COVID-19 vaccine. And because, he also added that U.S. vaccination program provided $5 trillion in economic value. And he also mentioned that it prevented 18 million hospitalizations and 3 million deaths here in the United States. And therefore, they can justify the increase in costs. So I'm curious to see how you feel about this. Do you think this is crazy? But because of 400%, that's way more than even U.S. inflation levels on everything else right now. That's a big jump. $130 a dose. Now, do you think if you didn't have health insurance, would you be able to afford $130 for your COVID vaccine dose? Would it be okay if you split it with your insurance company if you had health insurance? What do you think about this cost? Do you think the US government should continue to pay that amount? Curious to see what you think about that. But yes, this one, I will say this too, is you might think like, well, probably Congress is all anti this. Doesn't make any sense, right? Actually, not so. Senator Mitt Romney out of Utah is actually in Moderna's defense, saying that, people have to spend lots of money to be able to invest in technology and healthcare like this because that money is risky. They're saying that unproven drugs and treatments need to have a substantial return to incentivize companies such as Moderna to push forward and to make these improvements and advancements for mankind. He also added that the idea that corporate greed has been invented in America is absolutely crazy and not true. Okay. So what do you think? What do you think about this? But this is some of the financial news that's been coming out today. Of course, there's going to be more this week. So I'm expecting something to come out tomorrow. I'll keep you posted on other things that should be on your radar. But for those of you who are watching, I appreciate you so much for watching live. And those of you who are watching on the replay, really appreciate you tuning in as well. Thank you so much for sharing this with someone that you care about. If you're sharing it on social, make sure to tag me at Winnie Sun so I can properly thank you. And with that, please like and subscribe so you'll get alerted as we go live again tomorrow. Be well and take care. Bye-bye now.